I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My own sister, my blood, had listed my late grandmother's condo for sale without even telling me. I stood there in complete disbelief, staring at the real estate website with my grandmother's place, the place I grew up visiting every summer, plastered with photos and a sold tag next to it. My heart sank. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak tearing through my chest. How could she do this? How could someone I trusted more than anyone go behind my back and sell something that wasn't even hers to sell? Tell me, would you call this betrayal unforgivable, or am I overreacting? Because at that moment, I wasn't sure whether to cry or burn everything down. It all started a few months before Grandma passed away. My grandmother was a strong, sharp, loving woman who had always been the glue that held our family together. She lived in a small but beautiful condo downtown. It wasn't just a property, it was a piece of her heart. She'd bought it after retiring from teaching, and every corner was filled with memories, family dinners, holiday laughter, and the smell of her cinnamon cookies that could make anyone feel at home. My sister, Emily, and I were her only grandchildren. Emily was 2 years older than me, and growing up, we were inseparable at least, that's what I thought. But as we got older, things started to change. Emily became distant, competitive, even jealous at times. She always wanted to prove she was the more responsible and successful one. She had this picture, perfect life she liked to flaunt, a fancy job in marketing, an expensive car, and a fiancé who looked great in photos but barely said 2 words to her in real life. Meanwhile, I was still finding my footing, working as a freelance designer, struggling financially but doing something I loved. Grandma never judged me for that. She always said, "Money doesn't define you, kindness does." When Grandma got sick, Emily barely visited. She always had an excuse: work trip, deadlines, stress. But I was there almost every day, taking Grandma to her appointments, cleaning, cooking, and just being with her. Those months were hard, but they were precious. We talked for hours about life, love, and family. I could see the pride in her eyes whenever she looked at me. A few days before she passed, she held my hand and said something that still echoes in my head. "You've always had my heart, sweetheart. Take care of this place, it's yours now." I thought she meant it symbolically at first, but a week later, when her will was read, it became very clear. Grandma had left me the condo, not both of us, not the family, just me. Emily got a fair share of cash and jewelry, but the condo was mine. My name was on the papers. At first, I was shocked, even felt guilty. I knew how much Emily loved to show off, and this would sting her ego. But I also knew Grandma had her reasons. She told me once that she didn't trust Emily with property because she only sees price tags, not memories. When the will was read, Emily's reaction was explosive. She went from pretending to be happy for me to full-on accusing me of manipulating Grandma. "You were with her all the time before she died," she yelled. "You probably made her change it." I was stunned. I tried to explain that I didn't even know, that Grandma had decided on her own, but Emily wasn't having it. She stormed out, and for weeks we didn't talk. Eventually, I tried to make peace. I offered to let her stay at the condo whenever she wanted, or even split some rental income if I ever decided to lease it. But she brushed me off coldly. "Keep your charity," she snapped once, so I let it go. I thought, fine, if she wants space, I'll give it to her. I focused on renovating the condo, keeping Grandma's spirit alive while making it my own. It became my safe haven, my little slice of peace in a chaotic world. A few months passed peacefully. Then one day, out of nowhere, I got a call from my friend Mia, who worked in real estate. She sounded confused. "Hey, are you selling your condo?" I laughed. "What? No. Why?" She hesitated. "Because I just saw it listed online, same address, same pictures. It says it's under contract." My stomach dropped. I ran to my laptop, opened the link she sent, and there it was, Grandma's condo, my condo, listed and already marked as sold. I couldn't breathe. I thought it had to be a mistake. But when I looked closer, I saw the seller's information, my sister's name. Emily, I froze. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone and dialed her number. She didn't answer. I called again and again. Finally, she texted, "Busy, can't talk right now." That's when I knew she'd done something terrible. I rushed to the condo, my condo, only to find the locks had been changed. The sight of that new lock nearly made me collapse. I started banging on the door, yelling her name, but no one answered. The neighbors peeked out, whispering. I sat on the steps outside, trying to piece it all together. How could she even sell it without my consent? How was that legally possible? My name was on the deed. I spent the entire night researching and calling contacts. The next morning, I went to the local property office. After hours of explaining the situation and showing paperwork, the truth came out. Emily had forged my signature. She'd created fake documents, pretending I had agreed to sell the condo and given her power of attorney. She'd even hired a fake notary to stamp the papers. My sister, my own flesh and blood, had committed fraud against me. At that moment, I felt something inside me snap. I wasn't just hurt. I was furious. I'd lost trust, memories, everything Grandma had left me. I wanted justice, but I also wanted her to understand the weight of what she'd done. Before I tell you what I did next, let me ask you if your sibling betrayed you like that. Would you go to the police, or would you handle it yourself? What would you do if your own sister stole your inheritance and thought she could get away with it? Think about it and tell me in the comments before I reveal what came next. So, here's what I did. I gathered every document I had, Grandma's will, the original property deed, the letters she'd written me, and even old photos of us in the condo to show I had possession and history there. Then I reached out to a lawyer, a tough, no-nonsense woman named Karen, who specialized in property fraud. When I showed her everything, her eyes widened. "This is a serious crime," she said. "Your sister could face prison time." Hearing that gave me mixed feelings. On one hand, I wanted Emily to suffer consequences. On the other, she was still my sister. But then I remembered how easily she'd locked me out, how she'd smiled at family dinners as if nothing had happened while secretly stealing from me. The guilt disappeared. Karen helped me file a case immediately. We contacted the buyer, who turned out to be an older couple who had already paid the deposit but hadn't moved in yet. When they found out about the fraud, they were shocked but cooperative. I assured them I'd handle everything legally and that they'd get their money back through the investigation. They were kind. They even told me, "No one deserves this kind of betrayal, especially from family." Meanwhile, Emily was completely unaware that I was building a legal bomb under her feet. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I waited for the perfect moment. A week later, she called me acting like nothing was wrong to invite me to a family dinner at our parents' house. I accepted. When I arrived, she was all smiles, laughing, chatting, pretending everything was perfect. Halfway through dinner, my lawyer called. Loud enough for everyone to hear, I answered, "Yes, Karen, I'm here. You can serve the papers now." Silence fell across the table. Emily's face went pale. She stammered, "What's going on?" I looked straight at her and said, "You sold my condo, Emily. You forged my signature, and now you're going to answer for it." My parents were stunned. My mom gasped, covering her mouth. My dad demanded an explanation. Emily tried to deny it, but I had proof, printed copies of every document, screenshots, emails, fake notarization stamps, even a video clip from the property office confirming the forgery. I laid them all on the table. She broke down crying, begging for me to stop, saying she just needed the money. She'd apparently gotten into deep debt after her fiancé left her and wanted to sell the condo to cover it up. But by then, it was too late. The law had already been set in motion. The police showed up 2 days later to question her, and soon the case went public in our small community. My parents were humiliated. My mom begged me to drop the charges, but I couldn't. This wasn't just about money. It was about Grandma's legacy, my home, and my dignity. The investigation went on for months. Emily eventually pled guilty to fraud and forgery. She avoided jail through a plea deal, but had to pay heavy restitution, legal fees, and lost her job. The condo was legally reinstated in my name, and the fraudulent sale was nullified. I remember standing in front of the building after everything was over, feeling both victorious and hollow. Justice had been served, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like closing a painful chapter. Emily and I haven't spoken since. She moved to another city to start over. Our parents still try to get us to reconcile, but honestly, I don't know if I ever can. Some betrayals cut so deep that even time struggles to heal them. Still, I sometimes visit the condo and sit on the balcony where Grandma and I used to watch the sunset. I imagine her sitting beside me, smiling softly, as if to say, "You did the right thing, sweetheart." This whole experience taught me something powerful, that blood doesn't give someone the right to break your trust, and forgiveness doesn't mean letting them walk all over you. Grandma always said, "Do what's right even when it hurts," and that's exactly what I did. If you were in my place, would you have done the same? Would you press charges against your own sibling, or try to forgive them? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your thoughts. Like this video if you believe I made the right choice. Subscribe for more true stories like this. And don't forget to share this with someone who needs to be reminded that justice always finds its way. I'll see you all in the next story.